It is finished, finally. 2 years later, 16 books, 5,000 plus pages, a million words later, I have finally finished the perfect trilogy to the all-perfect fantasy series of all time, that is The Realm of the Otherlings. Before we get further into the video, I want to state that I will quickly talk about non-spoilers of the trilogy first, give you my overall thoughts, my feelings, and then we will dive into spoiler territory. But before we even get into that, okay? Also, that's Pura right there, sleeping. Pura, say hello. So anyways, I want to quickly reiterate that I have previous videos that I've made and talked about in this series overall on my channel, which I will leave linked down below. Okay, you can watch them in order. Just start off with Farseer Trilogy. Link down below. Look at me, look at my mouth. Go watch that first, because I still get comments in every single one of those videos first telling me that, oh, they don't know where to start. Is this the right series to start? Like, do you not watch my videos? Like, clearly you're new here. So I'm telling you, please do yourself a favor. Go and watch the non-spoilery section of that video where I talk about the first trilogy. Okay? Farseer, F-A-R-S-E-E-R trilogy. Type it into YouTube, you'll find it. Now that we've gotten that aside, I actually don't physically own the last trilogy with me because I read them during a time when I was moving. The world truly does not want me to talk about the series, but I will prevail. So I actually, funny enough, do not physically own the last 3 books in the trilogy. So I was reading it all on my Kindle. I read the Rainwald Chronicles, and I finished that. I read half of that physically and the other half on my Kindle, and then I went ahead because I could not wait. And also the fact that from the Book Depository, the website that I used to get all of my UK editions, I think they like ran out of business or something, that they closed down. And so I am trying to, be on the lookout, on the hunt for the rest of the UK editions. In this cover, I'm hoping to look out for some of the last trilogy editions sometime in the near future, if I can find it. That's why in the thumbnail you see me holding out the 3rd trilogy. So if you know anywhere in the US or even the UK that ships to the US that has the UK editions that I'm specifically looking for, please let me know down below. Anyways, we're here for the non-spoiler vibes. Let me give you a quick rundown. This was perhaps the most brutal, life-consuming, energy-zapping, soul-sucking, just a set of books in a trilogy that I've ever read in my entire life. Like, I was so exhausted, but so utterly fulfilled upon finishing it. Like, you have no idea. I feel like the people who get it, who have made it this far, who are just waiting to hear me talk about the spoilery section, who have finished and read all 16 books to this point, we're just built different. We are different from you guys. We're special. And the fact that we have finished, we're on the same wavelength. We know what it is to feel our hearts being broken into, our hearts tugged out, sucked out of our chest. We know how everything, the joy, the love, the suffering, the hatred, we all know. You guys don't. So please, do yourself a favor. Don't be one of those losers who watch for the spoilers, even though you haven't read or finished the books in general, because that is just typical loser behavior, okay? So please, do yourself a favor. I've done so much talking and reviewing each subset of these books. If you made it this far, you didn't know what I was talking about. This is perhaps the best fantasy series I've ever read in my entire life. Like, 16 books, yes, it may sound a lot, but for those who have read Mistborn or The Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson, Lord of the Rings, this is like a piece of cake. The way Robin Hobb creates characters and just incorporates just like this human empathetic side that I've never read or seen before in any type of media or physical written format, never has been done before. And I'm reading the Stormlight Archive right now. Like, I get all the hype with Brandon Sanderson, but between the two, Robin Hobb is just another class of her own. The way she writes characters, the story, bringing it all together, no other author can come close. And we follow a singular assassin in the first trilogy and his life throughout, trying to survive in this main castle sort of town. And as he branches along with his, abilities and his assassin and his devotion, his loyalty to the king, we branch from that to other different characters in other parts of the world. And this story, I want to say, spans a really, really long time. I don't want to get too specific because I don't want to give away any spoilers, but it spans quite a long time with just different characters and how they grow. Their growth especially is just, I've never seen anything like it before, or even read in a book reading about so much growth between characters. Like you're reading them when they're like children up until like they're full-fledged adults into like their 30s, I want to say early 20s, late 20s, all that. So my non-spoilery thoughts regarding this series. Book one ended in a way where the original trilogy, the first trilogy, made me feel, especially within the second book. Varsity Trilogy, book 2, that cliffhanger ending was very relevant in this first book in the last trilogy. The first book, going back into Fitz and his life again, oh my god. Especially coming after from the Tawny Man trilogy. If you're confused at this point, just stop here. Just know that I enjoyed it and go back and watch my other videos talking about this series in order, because there's a lot of information that happens. Oh my god. The second book, I think, had the most fundamental growth in terms of me reading all of the books up until that point. Like I understood the journey, I understood all the characters, their motives, like everything just clicked. Everything just clicked and made sense for me in that moment. And it was like one of the best feelings ever. The third book, in a nutshell, completely obliterated my soul, my back, my mind, blew me out in just ways I cannot even comprehend to you guys. Don't get me wrong, there were so many times where I admit it, I did doubt Miss Robin Hobb. I was like, are you kidding me? You're leading me up to the 16-book series up to this point. Like, I was furious. I was pissed. I was like, there's no way in hell that this series would end the way it would. You know, blast my doubt away, because Robin Hobb, I should not have doubted my queen. I should not. I should have trusted you in the process, because listen, the journey that I went on with some of these characters, especially Fitz, even in the last book, irritated and pissed me off to no end. Even his relationship with some of these characters, I was angry. I was mad, because I was like, shut up, you've been through all of these things and yet you're still like bringing the same mentality, the same doubtful mentality, the same distrustfulness with these characters that you've been with like for, I want to say, at least some of them, most of your life. So come on now, take a step back, take a breather, and just listen. Like Fitz is still the same old person. This is why we love and hate him at the same time. But the ending for this, it was beautiful. Beautiful in like the most soul-crushing way. So that's all I'm gonna say. I love the last trilogy. I think it had one of the best endings now that I've been able to ruminate and just think upon this, because I did finish this series like I want to say 4 or 5 months ago. It is just a perfect ending to a beautiful, just amazing, inspiring, epic fantasy series. If you have not taken the plunge, if you are just really doubting, just unsure of whether or not you should go into the series, oh my god, you're not prepared. Like, this is just miles and just leagues different and better than any other fantasy series I've ever read. It is very rewarding in terms of being patient, being loyal, and being trusting, okay, in Miss Robin Hobb, because she knows what the heck she's doing. She knows what she's doing. And it's just a beautiful thing to see. But before we get into the final spoiler talk of this trilogy, honestly, this whole entire saga, basically a century in the making, is just, to put in a nutshell, a juggernaut of plots and thickenings. Like the entire series, all the characters, the writing, a brimming of colossal devices and makings, and it just all spectacularly merges, coming together. Seamless, senseless, ageless, just a simple thread weaving all the complicated pieces together with the utmost perfect clarity. This in its full form, the tapestry, the perfect picture. This is the realm of the Otherlings. Oh my god, I just got goosebumps just like giving you guys that analogy, just those words. You know, all the cuts and the edits that I'm making to this video right now will make it sound more profound. Oh, I just gave myself goosebumps. Anyways, so that is, in a nutshell, my last and final entry in this series that is non-spoilers. So please, goodbye. If you made it this far, leave now if you have not made it and read and finished the last and final entry of the 16th book of the Realm of the Otherlings. Alright, Fool's Quest. Oh my god, I was just so giddy. Just eating the hype coming from the last book in the tetralogy of the Rainwell Chronicles, that I was like, should I wait a week or two, or even after I move to finish the last trilogy? And I was like, why not? Why am I waiting for? I could die the next day and never finish this brilliant series, so that's what I did. I went ahead to my library and I immediately put all the other books on hold. And the first book, it was a sign, essentially. I was like, should I read the first book? It was there. not on hold, for me to borrow immediately. I had the option to listen to an audiobook, but I think I want to save that for a reread in the future. One thing I have to say though is that when reading it on Kindle, I feel like I just sped through it so quickly, because physically reading it, it's just a different matter, because you know how much you're into the book, how much you're getting into it and finishing it. So I sped through all 3 books in a few days, which was insane, with the Fool's Quest. Oh my god. So it's just so bittersweet and nostalgic coming into Fitz's whole world again, his POV, right? And at this like start in his life, I didn't realize he was so old. Like granted, he's not old. Like 47 is, you know, not old. It's old. But like, I was like, he's 47? Like that is crazy. But he still looks and has the strength and agility as he had when he was like in his early 30s or late 20s or whatever. It's, you know, the magic of who he is. So I'm gonna refer back to my notes. But of course, as always, even in the first chapter in Fitz's POV again, in true fashion, he annoys me. Oh my god. Like, he's probably the worst and best assassin ever, because tell me why he's ignoring all of these clues that, oh, maybe something is happening, something or someone is not where they're supposed to be. But yet he ignores all of these clues. If he did act upon like those suspicions, we would have gotten an entirely different book. But because of these events that spiraled and went, you know, on, we got what we got. Obviously, in true Fitz fashion, he annoyed me in the first chapter, and I was like, God, welcome back. Welcome back. What I really loved about this first book is just how slow it was. For a good chunk of the book, we're just with Fitz, with his life, just settling down. What if Fitz had a normal life and nothing ever came from his enemies or problems they had to deal with or any future scenario or problem, right? And I was like, you know what? I would read it. I would read all 5 to 1,000 pages of this book. Please give it to me. But you know what? Underneath that whole, I don't want to say facade, but underneath that whole quiet stillness, I knew it was BS. I was like, I'm smelling a calm before the storm. Like, I just know the biggest shitstorm was about to unleash itself on our poor main character that is Fitz and his family. Like, I was just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, I was like, this happiness is not going to last. But I'm really glad that Robin Hobb was able to extend, you know, that quiet stillness, just that wholesome time that he had with his family. I was very appreciative of it. I was like, you know what? Kudos to you, Mrs. Hobb, because I already know what you're gonna do. You're just gonna sabotage our heart, pull it back, mend it, and put it back in, and then rinse and repeat. Throughout the entire time with Fitz, there's just like this self-resignation, like this slight melancholy vibe to it. But I was here for it, because underneath, I already knew what was gonna happen. Also, I am so sorry, but I was actually I was one of the people who doubted Molly that you were pregnant. I am so sorry, Molly. You have been through shit, okay, being in this relationship with Fitz. And I know that I didn't really care for you as much as I did in like the previous books, but in this one, you had time to shine, okay? And I really appreciated that with Miss Hobb, you know, giving you the spotlight. Because when you said you were pregnant, I was with Fitz. I was like, she's pregnant? There's no way. I mean, I was like, Miss Thing has been through a lot, so I'm just gonna give her a little leeway, live your best life. But thankfully, she was pregnant, okay? And she did give birth to the sweetest, one of my favorite characters, or pretty much the favorite character that I've ever had in this entire franchise, in this entire series. And I didn't want to talk about her in the non-spoilery section because I was like, that's gonna give it away. Especially like, what, 13 books later in the series? Bee, oh my god, Bee was adorable. I loved her. She was so wholesome, so smart, and just so full of life. You know, opposite of Fitz in so many ways, but I loved his reaction with Bee, because I feel like she was the only child he actually was there to see and watch grow up, you know, in her earlier baby years, because he wasn't able to do that with Nettle or the other kids, from what I remember. Like, he was there present for her birth. That was just one of the most wholesome, like one of the most memorable things. I remember Fitz just feeling so scared and vulnerable, but yet just like a dad, you know, holding his baby for the first time. That made me I was all in my feels when that happened. I actually did not know where the story would go. Like, I refused to read the synopsis or this last entryway, essentially. And so, to my utter delight and surprise, we got a POV from Bee, or we get the biggest POV from Bee. Unexpected. I was like, there's no way we're getting a whole POV from this child, and I figured that she's important, but I didn't realize how important, especially when she has these abilities that she has inherited from her father. And oh my gosh, the Fool, you know, there's just something about the Fool and the Fitz being dads emotionally and mentally and spiritually and corporally and physically, you know, as dads to be in a nutshell. You know, Robin Hobb, she sort of has like this this thing going on, especially with Burge and Chade being father figures to Fitz, and how Fitz and the Fool are father figures to B. All right, Miss Hobb, I see what you're doing there. But yeah, it was just really interesting in the fact that I just didn't know where the story would go. For like, I guess the majority of the book. Like, if you had told me I would be reading from a child of Fitz, her POV, the way she is and her character from book 1, I would have never believed you, or even like had this sense of fulfillment in reading from her POV, as you know, comparing to the first POV from Fitz in book 1. Like, the journey from there to here, never in a million years would I've ever imagined to be in this scenario, in this predicament, in these set of books. Also in book 1, I pointed out there were so many orphan kids. Like, there were a lot of children, especially in like the last 7 books, because in the Rainwild Chronicles, we're following like a bunch of kids herding a bunch of dragons to the Promised Neverland, you know, and all that. Now in this one, we have a bunch of other kids, orphan kids, which we later find out are Chade's kids. Oh my god, they were so annoying. So yeah, we have Fitz, Vigilant, and Shun, which is pronounced Shine, but unfortunately for the longest time, I was pronouncing or mispronouncing her name as Shun, and I was like, that is such an unfortunate name. Later in the books, he's like, oh, it's pronounced as Shine, and I was like, you know, I don't know what it is with this town specifically, or this region of the kingdom, where they're naming their kids like after virtues or whatever, like Verity, Fitz Vigilance, Shun, Shine, Candle, Perseverance. It's just, it was just really funny to me. So the ending of this one really threw me in for a loop. I was not expecting the amount of just sheer shock that I went through reading the ending of this one. I was like, Fitz is gonna burn the world down to find his beloved daughter. Like, honestly, when I finished that first book, I was like, I see it. It sort of mirrors a little bit some plot elements from the first trilogy that we read from. Like, I was truly gagged, so shocked in that moment when I was like, there's no way that they're kidnapping his only child. Like, there are so many things that could have gone wrong for them, but it went right for them in the way that they were able to take his child away. And obviously, books 2 and 3 are journeys in order for Fitz to rescue his daughter. But I was like, if there were only so many ways in which you guys could have failed and Fitz could have saved the day, we could have gotten such a prolific happy ending. But of course, Miss Hobb did not allow, like, for us to achieve that, or for us to even feel that. She was like, nope, I'm gonna stretch out the most painful, emotional, tragic ending for all of you guys to suffer. I felt every single heartache, every single problem, every single hurt and sorrow and joy and happiness in the series. Like, I could not fathom. Anyways, it's getting darker, but moving on into book 2. Here, Fool is now 60, because at the beginning of the first one, he's 47, still living life, B wasn't there yet, and now he's in like his early to mid 60s, and I was shook. I was not expecting that we would get 60-year-old Fitz, pretty much. Then again, also Aragorn from Lord of the Rings. He was also hella old as well, but he looked great. Viggo Mortensen was one of the first questions I ever had, by the way. No one cares, but there it is. I just want to reiterate how I said that this book was most fundamental for me, because this one had the most changes. One of the biggest change here was reintroducing Fitz into the court again. Like, that one made me cry, because I was like, oh my god, finally, after pretty much like 40, 60 years even, for him to finally be introduced by the people that he has loved and saved countless times into the world again, to get his due diligence of just being a person that people now know, his name, that this son of a bitch has saved our lives in like the most fundamental way possible. That set me back. I was like, oh my god, this is so beautiful. Like, I was so happy. Like, I didn't know if I would be happy, in a sense that kind of liked him being like sort of like this anonymous player in the background, sort of like a background player so many times, doing these things for all these different people, you know? But I loved it. I loved what they did, how they introduced it, a big celebration with everyone that he loved, almost everyone that he loved there. It was just a beautiful thing to just read. I loved it. I was also very giddy in the fact that we had some characters who are mentioned or have a slight crossover. Like, for example, there was a brief mention of Rapskull from the character from the Rainwild Chronicles who's writing a letter. We read this entry point and I was like, oh my god, I was so giddy. I was like, are we going to get like a huge crossover? Like, I wasn't sure of the crossovers we would get, because, you know, the crossovers in here in this book series, they're very far and few in between. They're very tame. There's not like a huge crossover between pivotal characters. They're more like in passing, like this character doesn't know that this character was there like 20 years ago, for an example. Or we grow up with characters and they finally meet newer characters in like another part of the series, whatever. For me, I was very much looking forward to when Fitz would finally be introduced or meeting other pivotal characters that we have read about in previous books, okay? And we did get that, but I'll get into that. Fool drank dragon blood, which was very reminiscent of one of our characters drinking dragon blood from one of the dragons in the Rainwild Chronicles, and being a dragon keeper, getting abilities from that and all that. And I was just really interested to see how this would affect the Fool. And it does affect him, but very, very differently because of who he is, you know? Oh my god, I put here, Chade's kids are idiots! They annoyed me so much. I literally could not care for spineless, irritable Lant or vain, vapid Shine. To think Lant pushed himself to go with Fitz, I was like, great, another traveling book with his biggest loser. Pear was one of the kids that I did like. I did really like his relationship, especially with Bee. I thought they were just so wholesome and just so very fitting how he ended up, you know, saving her. But we'll get into that. When Fitz spoke to Verity again, another big, like, memorable moment for me. It was just full circle, 360, baby. The fact that he was able to speak to Verity again, but in like a different circumstance. See, okay, when he went to Kalsingra, oh my god, I was so hyped, especially like meeting our other favorite characters from the Rainwild Chronicles. I really was interested in his meeting with Malta, especially because she was such a brat, but she had a huge trajectory, right? From being like a child brat to now like a queen princess of the Queen of the Elderlings, essentially. And even here, I said Fitz's interactions with Malta, Rain, Rapskull, and Fron felt so rewarding. Like I was getting goosebumps, the chills. In those moments, it felt so worth it. I think the last ending of the second book was much more surprising to me in the fact that Fitz healed their son, Malta's son. I was shocked. I was like, ooh, this is gonna go places and gonna give him like the upper hands, the upper degree, in that being closer, in that he is just higher than the kings and queens of the Elderlings. And I was like, this is gonna go places. I was so excited to see where it would go. Also, I was very surprised that Tats and Thymera also had a kid too. Everyone would be popping babies. In the third book, everything comes together full freaking circle. All right, so I had to up the ISO, but now we are finally talking about the last and final book, that is The Assassin's Fate. Honestly, The Assassin's Fate, my favorites. Like, I will also do a video later, a separate video, where I rank the characters in my books of the entire realm of the Elderlings, because I feel like that would be really fun to do. But this book, oh my god, this book was so good. So many feelings. Like, I went through so many things going through this book. I even said right here, I truly cannot even begin to feel how I'm about reading the last book in this epic journey. Took roughly 2 years, but so worth it. This time, this place, this moment, now and then. It's just, and I put like a bunch of exclamation points, numbers, dollar signs, you know. I think this third book truly put Fitz through the worst pivotal moments of his life. In his years of like almost living out a whole century. I was like, oh my god, everything, he's gonna go through shit, but like, I feel like the worst was over. I was dead wrong. Things that he went through in this book, in this last book, astounding. Like, I was convinced that Robin hated him for a good while. I was like, Robin, why are you putting Fitz through this? Like, what is gonna come through this? Like, what is gonna top it, you know? I had my reservations. I even had inklings and just doubts regarding what Robin Hobb was trying to achieve and do. I was like, stop it. I was kind of annoyed at Robin Hobb, to be honest. I was like, you are making some plot points here with certain characters that I do not like, especially with the Fool. The Fool annoyed me in this one. The Fool is Amber. I'm so sorry, but Amber, I do not care for. I hated Amber in so many ways that Amber acted out in like their own best, not in their best interest, but in the best interest of others, especially Bee. Oh my god, I was so annoyed. But also, I understood it at the same time, because with Fitz, I was also annoyed that this bitch did not believe that his daughter was still alive, right? For the longest time, but the Fool did. He's like, no, you have to believe me, trust in me, I'm also Bee's father. And the Fitz is like, yeah, whatever, you're delusional, like, I'm her dad, I don't know what you're talking about. Then again, I'm like, Fitz, shut the fuck up. The Fool as Amber, you need to chill the hell out. Like, stop. Okay, some of these characters, they got me so annoyed and irritated in this last book that I was like, I'm about to give this book a 2-star read. It'll never come to that. Trust, okay? You know, reading this, I literally cannot sympathize Fitz as much as I do now. The way I didn't think he'd be suffering anymore after what happened in Tawny Man's trilogy, I was so dead wrong. I can't even imagine it would get any worse for our saint of assassin. God, I feel so much for him. I'm living for all these interactions with Leftrin and Elise, the Tarman, Tintaglia, the way all of these little minuscule interactions, granted they weren't like the biggest thing, the most focal point in the book, but they gave me so much life. The way he interacted with some of these characters from the Liveship Trader Trilogy, the Rainwild Chronicles, I was like, oh, the gratification. The way that people said you could skip the second to last tetralogy and just go into Fitz, this set of books, I was like, there is no way. The way you would miss out so many plot points and so many characters, and just so many things happening. It's just astounding to me. Like, you cannot skip. You know, you have to read it and then go into this one. Oh my god. Another thing with Verity and Fitz is that I never imagined, or seeing it in that light, that Fitz was also dragon touched as well. But duh, of course, by Verity. Oh my god, I never saw it that way. Everything just made sense. Now, another memorable moment was when Fitz recognized Paragon's face as his own. I mean, we were gagged when we found out that the fool was Amber, who carved someone he loved on Paragon's face. But Fitz, in all of his living, I think, just like one of the top moments for him. He was truly gagged. He was like, there's no way that that ship has my face. Just truly one of the most hilarious moments in the book for me. So I guess the biggest disappointment and biggest takeaway for me regarding this last book, even though I loved it so much, was I was not a fan of how certain plot points came to a standstill, or how it all came together, especially during, I want to say, the 50 or 40% mark. There's so much traveling involved with some of these different characters that I honestly didn't really care for. Like Fitz didn't really believe that B was still alive, or how the fool as Amber would act accordingly in a certain way. I just wasn't a fan, and I was really distrusting of Miss Hobb around this point. I was like, God, this is the last 16 book and this is what you're putting me through? Again, I need to stop doing that and just trust my queen, because so much shit happens. Also, I was not expecting Chade to die like as he did. I was expecting him to go out more, like much more fanfare. But then again, this is the thing with Robin Hobb and some of the main characters that she introduces, is that you kind of expect these characters to reach like a pinnacle point where they have a heart-to-heart or relinquish something that causes more sympathy or empathy with these characters, especially with his the main character Fitz, right? But with Fitz, I mean, he wasn't even there with Chade when he died. And I think that in of itself sheds just a different light on how Robin Hobb treats these characters in general. Like I even said right here, to be honest, the death felt so sudden and random. I knew he wasn't invincible, but I felt like he would go out more of a bang. But that's what I love about Robin Hobb in her books. She just lets these characters go in the most least and unexpected ways. Like Burrich, there wasn't a huge amount of dignity. Fitz and him never got to have a heart-to-heart to discuss things long past due. He was there, and then he was gone. To me, this is why it feels so human. There's no hyped passing around these pivotal characters. They're a huge focus in Fitz's life, but this is a story about Fitz and not these other characters. And that's something that I just, had to take in and fully just sit with myself on, especially with Burrich, because I was so unsatisfied with how he went. It wasn't as gratifying or satisfying, just like that lost conversation that you had with Fitz. I was like, come on. But in just real life, it doesn't work that way, Gotta live your life to the fullest, every day at a time. That's what feels human to me in that regard. So I have the utmost respect with Miss Hobb in that department. The last and biggest takeaway for me was that Fitz was never on the same length as the Fool. Literally 16 books and almost 70 to 80 years in between. Years later, like he still doesn't believe the Fool and what he has to do or what he's trying to say, even though the Fool, annoyingly, has his own way of doing things, but still like the best interest, right? Fitz is like, I still don't believe. Like I can't fault with him. Like I can't be annoyed with him anymore at this point, because it's just who he is at this point, fundamentally at his core. Just Fitz being Fitz. Oh my god, okay. So again, how I was saying about the traveling thing, so many plot points. I didn't really like where they were going, all the characters. I was really pissed, really mad at the book because I was like, stupid. Man, Fitz was so dumb. Hello? Leaving a whole bag of silver with Amber in the room? Of course she would go and steal that silver to use it for later on, right? I was like, stupid idiot. Of course he would steal and take it, dumbass. Now I'm angry. This book is making me mad with the angry emoji right there. I thought for the longest time, Fitz would be bonding to another animal. So I was a little wary and hesitant because I didn't exactly feel like it was warranted, because no animal could ever take Night Eye's place, literally. I was like unsure of where this would go. This is like one of the other reasons where I was like, Miss Robin Hobb, what are you doing here? I'm so happy that he did not bond with any other animal. Like Night Eyes truly was literally the only animal for him, I think. Oh my god, especially towards the end. Just gotta give Night Eyes the biggest shout out. Like he was there from the beginning to the end. At this point in the book, I think I was like maybe 80% of the way through, 70%. I was like, nobody better fucking die, or I swear to God. Because I had a feeling, I was like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way that Miss Robin Hobb would kill off any of the main characters. Like, she already killed off the Fool. There was no way she would bring him back, or kill him off, bring him back, and then kill him off again. And I was like, there's no way she's killing off Fitz. Like, I was like, that is like the shittiest, most stupidest ending you could give to Fitz. And I was like, I'm not here for it. So I was very wary, especially, oh my God, right here. I said, are you effing kidding me? Fitz died because of a effing torch. He had to go back, of course, to the room where it's dangerous to get an effing torch, and now he's dead. All caps, died alone in the dark? WTF? I literally hyperventilated on chapter 40. This is not an exaggeration. I put the book down, stomping around in my apartment, pissed as hell. I was just denying it, being so negative. I was like, he's probably still alive, right? There's no way. I did believe that he was dead. I was so pissed because I was like, seriously, this is the way to go? You're gonna have nonchalant deaths for the other characters, for the main male characters in the book, but for this, with Fitz, I felt like that would be such utmost disrespect. Are you kidding me, Miss Robin Hobb? 16 books. I was ready to call it quits and being like, everyone, I freaking lied. Don't listen to me. I'm about to delete all the other videos. Because I was that pissed. Anyways, when he did come back, I was still left so conflicted because he still wasn't able to meet face to face with B and say everything that she needs to say. Like, there's just so many unresolved or unexplained or unanswered things that our characters have yet to say to each other. But that mirrors real life. Like, there's so many things we want to say to other people in our past life and whatever. We don't have time, and you know, we could be gone or dead the next day or whatever, right? Here, it mirrors that exactly. You know, when B says like the last lie to the Fool and he fled away. Oh my God, my heart did break a little bit for the Fool. Like, I was like, you know, oh my God. I was going through things, okay? The Fool was going through a lot, and I believed that he is truly the father of B as well. I also love the fact that the live ships are now able to become full-fledged dragons, which also comes full circle now. Oh, and then finally, Fitz is gonna die because of some stupid worms. You know the ending that I wanted to have in my mind was that, like, the better ending. Fitz comes home to B, and he and the Fool raise B by themselves with Night Eyes as a stone dragon. That is my perfect ending. My perfect ending is Fitz and the Fool raising B together with Night Eyes as a stone dragon. But alas, of course, I mean, hello? Still, 16 books later, and I'm still bamboozled, of course, by Miss Robin Hobb. Of course, we're not gonna get that happy ending we deserve, right? I said it here, never have I ever been fucking played like this before. Robin Hobb is too cruel. I take back everything I said about Fitz and everyone. Depression is here. But you know what? That last 20%, even though it was the most brutal, sorrowful, most dreadful thing I ever had to read, it was still yet the most poignant, utmost beautiful thing I've ever read. Like, I think, emotions aside, when I have to like cool down and really think this through, I think it truly is the most better ending. Like, not even better, the best ending that Miss Robin Hobb could have given to Fitz and I think and company, to be honest. Like, I'm not saying he had to die, but I'm saying in that moment with Night Eyes joined together with the Fool, oh my God, I'm tearing up thinking about it. It was just so freaking perfect. So perfect in that sense, right? I know I didn't want him to go. And yet, I think if he had to do this, this is the perfect time and space and place. Fitting, a perfect solemn moment of truth. Full circle, my heart aches. I'm finished, I'm done, I can't believe it. 70 years in the making. It was a love story between friends, between two truths, a unity of coming together, perhaps the brightest love song come to life. It was beautiful. It was perfect. I'm tearing up, you guys. Oh my God. Truly, my God. Even though I had conflicting feelings roughly 40% of the book, this is by far still the strongest. Yes, I felt conflicted, but it all makes sense. I understand it all now. This is a perfect pitch to it, and I am fully awake. I have truly lived blessedly, fully, lovingly, longingly. No other series, no other book series has made me come close to feeling as I have for this entire series in general. So many things. I mean, I'm sure there's so many like details that I'm missing out, and I kind of did wish I made a video talking about this whole series when I did finish reading it, as I did with other series, but reading it and finishing it truly broke me, and I was moving, traveling, and so I could not really sit down and just ruminate. And once I fully did, I think this is the best ending we could have gotten. Even though I really wanted I wanted Fitz to stay alive. I think trajectory-wise, with characters and growth and perspective, this is truly the best ending. Like the three of them, the Fool, Fitz, and Night Eyes, together as one, bounding away, will always be there for B, in her peripheral, in her shadow, you know? She's a comfort, longing presence, and I felt like, in a way, they're her guardian angels for life. Like nothing will ever harm her ever again. I love that so much. I love B. She went through so much shit from the moment she was born, right, to her like 10 years of childhood. That little girl has been through so much hell, like daughter, like father. But I'm really excited to be reading the next entry. I guess I heard rumors that Robin Hobb is writing another entry with B as a central main character now, when she's like a teenager to young adult. I'm not sure how that is gonna go, but I have faith. I have full trust. I will no longer doubt. Like, truly took me reading 16 books to fully feel like this feeling of accomplishment and being alive. Like, I don't know, like I've never felt any feelings that I have upon reading and completing this series as I have in my entire life. I am not making a lot of sense right now, but it is what it is. These are my feelings. If you have read all of the books, please let me know down in the comments below your thoughts, your feelings for this series, because it was just that perfect. So beautiful. Yes, it wasn't perfect in every sense. Like I had so many conflicting feelings. Like I even gave the first book in the Lies of Traitor trilogy a 3-star read. Upon knowing and reflecting the journey to get there, every book 5 stars. Like this will not be the last video where I'll be talking about the series. I want to make another video, in-depth video, where I talk about the characters and the books, like ranking. You know, there's no bad book here, okay? But there are some books where I consider like my favorites. I don't know, I kind of want to reread everything together, but I kind of want to reread just from Fitz's POV, you know? Instead of like waiting in between or reading from the Chronicles or the Traitor trilogy. But I really wanted to sit down and just talk and gush, you know, about this last trilogy with you guys, because I won't be making another series review again unless Robin Hobb comes out with another set of books. I mean, of course, but I feel like that'll be like a long time coming. 16 books, huge accomplishment. Thank you so much again to you guys for sticking with me on this long, glorious, beautiful journey of life. Honestly, that's all I'm gonna say. I'll leave a Patreon down below where for $5 a month, you can do like reading sprints, movie nights, game nights, book club picks, and all that. Anyways, that's pretty much it.